Well, hello, I'm Jen and I'm with Home by Jen. And today I am with the lovely Elizabeth Dahl with elizabethdahl.com. So say hi, Elizabeth.
Hey there. Hey, glad to have you here today.
Awesome. So tell us about you and what you do.
Great. Well, I am a health and wellness coach by trade, I guess you'd say. And what I do on my website is basically help empower and help women build confidence in themselves, as well as help them reach their health and wellness goals. I used to work as a trainer and coach and all of that. And one of the things that I noticed with people, especially with women, is that there's a lot more to just health and wellness when we think of it as nutrition and exercise. So I'm here to kind of bring wellness full circle with all of the aspects of wellness, emotional health, mental health, physical, and all of that. So that's kind of what I do.
I love that that's your message, because I think so many times people are like, just eat well or just go exercise, instead of like really getting the mind and body like aligned together. So that's really great.
Yeah, and that's what I noticed. I started out in about the same place most wellness people start out is as a personal trainer. And that's what I realized is that I would tell people to do something and then they just like struggled. There was this disconnect. And if they did it, they got great results. But then I realized that there was more to it than just following a plan, kind of like what you just said.
Right, right. So what made you decide to like go online with your idea, or like with your passion?
Good question. I think when I graduated college, one of the things that I told myself was that I wanted to do the most good for the most people. And I loved working in the corporate wellness field. It was great. But I realized my reach was just so small. I mean, I was working 8-hour days and I could meet with maybe 6-ish people a day and I could do some group coaching, I could do some one-on-one coaching, but I just couldn't reach the audience that I felt like I wanted to reach, because I feel like there's such a need for a better wellness balance in life. And so that's kind of why I decided to go online, to hopefully reach more women and help them, achieve their dreams. And that's my favorite thing about what I do, is seeing people accomplish what they've set themselves out to do.
Oh, yes, that is so true. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's amazing that we have the internet now, so we can reach so many more people, and it's actually cheaper in the long run, so they don't have to like really hire you one-on-one. They can just go onto a website and get some tips, and I don't know, I just love this this technology that we have available to us. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and the other thing too is time. Right now this world is so busy. We are just pulled in so many different directions. And so, I was working work hours and everyone else was working work hours. So for them to come down and see me, it was really difficult. And so now it's like you can access these tools on the time frame and whenever you want. If you want to access them at 3 a.m, great.
That's amazing.
That's what I love.
Yeah. So one quick question about kind of like your personal, how are you able to balance your blog, your website, and your cute son? He's so adorable.
Well, he's giving me a run for my money right now, but he is very cute. That's a good question. And I think becoming a mother it's like you're learning that there's a completely different balance than before a mother, and it's a completely different balance, and it's a flexible balance. I'm a bit of a perfectionist. I like to have things kind of perfect before I start them. That's something that's been hard to get through. And so I'm learning still, and I still have to do this over and over to myself, is that you're never going to achieve the balance. You're constantly working toward the balance. So there's going to be different seasons in your life where something is higher priority than others, but it's the balance for you at that time. And so that's something that I've really learned is, I guess you'd say, flexible balance, where it's okay to feel like you're not fully balanced all the time, because that gives you the opportunity to then say, okay, I need to eliminate this, or I need to change this. And that's been so helpful for me, because as you know, kids they don't follow really good routines. They don't, some days they wake up at this time and other days they don't eat. Mine never eats really, but it's just kind of all over the place. And so I've just really learned, like, okay, what is my balance? And the other thing that I would say is I think we might talk a little bit about this down the road, but I have some non-negotiables that I have to keep in place so that I stay balanced. So for me, it's exercise. Mm-hmm. Even today was a simple yoga routine because I just wasn't feeling the energy, the weight room type energy. But I have to find those non-negotiables. So it's the exercise. I had to do some reading in the morning, and, getting set for the day. And those things have to stay there for me to create the balance. And then whatever else comes my way, I just know I've done those few things each day, and that's what keeps me in balance.
I love that. I really do. And I love that you said that it was just a simple yoga routine because you weren't feeling the energy. And I love that you just let it. It's okay. Like, you aren't going to sit there and be like, oh, I didn't go to the gym today, so I was like, I didn't live up to what I'm supposed to do. And just like, you have a non-negotiable, but you're able to like be flexible with your non-negotiable. So I love that. And I hope that other moms can really take that message. And if it's just a walk around the block, that's better than just, a bag of Cheetos.
Yeah. Exactly. And it's all about the little things, the little tiny choices that you make, mm-hmm. They add up. So you talked about balance and perfection, and that's a perfect example of saying, like, just get rid of the idea of perfection and find out what's, I guess, kind of good enough for you, essentially, where, you know what, you're not going to sleep through the night every single night as a mother. But what can you do to still take care of yourself? Maybe it is a simple yoga routine versus a half marathon run or something.
Right. And I was actually going to ask you how we can let go of imperfection later on in our call. So that's like, it's like so perfect. So hopefully, are there any other things that you can think of that you do that will let you just let go of imperfection, of, yeah, you have your non-negotiable, but you're able to have flexibility with your non-negotiable. I hope that people really think about that. I don't know. I just, like, it kind of hit me. It was like, you can still go through your goals and, accomplish what you want to and be flexible. So, I don't know. That's like a perfect storm of awesomeness, I guess. I don't know.
Well, I wish I had like a chart with me that I could show you.
Right.
But I always think of it as, so we kind of picture, let me try to do it the opposite way of the camera so you can see. So we kind of picture, when we start out with our goals, we picture, we're here, and we picture this linear progression that we feel like we're going to, so we decide that we're going to eat 5 fruits and vegetables a day, and we're going to exercise every single day, and we're never going to get mad, and we're always going to meditate, and we have this linear progression. But the reality of life is that this happens, right? We get ups and downs. And the idea is that we still have that slope of the curve here. It's not a perfect linear line, and that's okay. But it's this dips and waves, I guess you'd say, that you're seeing still progress, but you're also recognizing that you're human and that those things will happen. Mm-hmm. Instead of, I'm going to be perfect, and I wasn't perfect, so I'm back to where I started. I'm going to be perfect, versus those ups and downs that get you just a little bit higher each time. And that's a good visual for me to think, I love that. Okay, I just did a little dip today, but guess what? Tomorrow is a new day, and I'm just going to jump right back up. And that's okay. Some people think, I'm starting all over, and I go, you're not starting all over. Right. You're just picking up, you're learning. So I think those little dips are great because you're learning from them, and you're saying, that didn't really work for me. So I've got to figure out a different solution. So next time that dip maybe won't be as great.
Right. So it's like finding that other route instead of like walking into that wall. You like decide, okay, maybe I need to go to the right or I need to go to the left, or so it's all about.
Exactly.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So is it possible for anyone to really just live the life of their dreams, or to really start thinking positive so they can have the life of their dreams?
Yes, I'm a dreamer and I love it. I totally believe that. And I'm going to tell you why. One of the very first books that I read on like success and happiness is a book called The Success Principles by Jack Canfield.
I must read that down.
Yeah, one of my all-time favorite books. It's thick, it's big, so take it in chunks. But one of the very first things that he talks about is that we are 100% responsible for our own destiny. And that's something that is day number one rule that you learn, is that you have to take 100% responsibility for your actions. So no one's going to give you the life of your dreams. I wish they did. And maybe there's some few lucky people out there that like won the lottery. I don't know. But so he talks about how this equation, and if you can think in your mind, it's E plus R equals O. So the event plus your response to the event equals the outcome. And so he talks about how, an event happens in your life. So like you didn't sleep very well, right? And your response is, I'm just going to eat junk food all day long. Mm-hmm. So the outcome is probably, you're not feeling great because you didn't really stick with your goal. So what he talks about is changing our response to the event. Sometimes we can't control the event, but we can control the response to get a better outcome. And so when we think about living the life of our dreams, we're in control of that response. We're somewhat in control of some of those events as well. And so, yes, totally possible to live the life of your dreams. But I'm not going to say that you can just float through. You really do have to take 100% responsibility and put in the work. I mean, it's good work, but it's hard work.
Right. Yes. That's so true. And so that leads me to my next question. So how much of our mind gets in our way of our success or our happiness or like living the life of our dreams? So how much of it is our mind versus, I don't know, like environment and whatnot?
Oh man, 99% maybe, if I could put a percentage to it, I don't know.
Right.
But truthfully, if you think about it, our mind is our most powerful tool. So if you could think about both sides of the equation, where our mind is really powerful to bring us to really low places, and our mind is really powerful to bring us to really high places. So, there's that quote out there that says, if you think you can't, or if you tell yourself you can't, you're right.
Yes.
If you're telling yourself that you're going to fail, you're probably going to fail. Right. So I think the biggest thing is that, yes, our minds can lead us to happiness, but we have to learn how to train them to be the tool that we need them to be, rather than the hindrance, I guess.
Right. Oh, for sure. So how easy, now I'm going to switch gears a little bit, but how easy is it for us to love ourselves? Because I think that we are so hard on ourselves, and we're always like telling ourselves, oh, I ate poorly yesterday, or I, just sat on the couch and I didn't feel motivated. So then we are punishing ourselves for the expectations that we're putting on ourselves. And how easy is it for us to reset and start loving ourselves?
It's kind of hard. I think as women, it's hard, right? Because we're surrounded by like a perfect social media profile of everyone around, right? I mean,
Right.
women are typically more prone to social media. I think that's just kind of a statistic. Maybe it's not now in this world, but not maybe a specific type of social media, like
Right.
say Instagram, where you're just seeing pictures and you're comparing your everyday to everyone's highlight reels, right? And so it's kind of, I think, in the sense of, it's a little bit hard because we're surrounded by so much visual stuff and so many other things. But at the same time, the thing that you really want to work on is, how do we build that strong and positive self-image, for ourselves? So it doesn't really matter what's going on around us. We can still love, like, Jen's crushing it. She's like the best home organizer I know. And my house is like, I don't know. I can't figure it out, but that doesn't affect my worth. And I think sometimes we compare. I mean, I love what you said about, if you blow your diet or whatever and you go, I'm the worst. Yes. And you've compared an event with your person, with your being.
Right.
And that's not who you are. They're two totally separate things. Something happened to you, but it doesn't define who you are.
I like
and
that.
So being able to separate it and saying, okay, yeah, I kind of screwed up, but silly, like, guess
Right.
what? I'll figure it. Like, it's not going to bring me down. It's not going to chip away at my own self-confidence, because I just know, like, you know what? No, I'm not a lazy person, but yeah, I had a lazy morning. And so having that shift of not talking to yourself in a negative way, but just saying, the event might have been negative, but it's not you that's caused, like, you're not that way, if that makes sense.
Oh, it totally makes sense. I think of that, is it a meme or whatever that, it's the mom is looking on Pinterest and seeing all these beautiful organized homes and all of these like perfect dinners, and then she's like, I'm scrolling through Pinterest seeing all of these perfect lives, and I'm thinking, well, my kids are still alive. Like, that's like it's like the bar is so low or whatever, because you have these picture images of perfection, and where it's really not, because I mean, how many shots does it take to have that perfect plate of food prepared, or that the lighting's correct or whatever. So I think that there's a lot of misconception on online.
Well, that's funny that you bring that up, because just yesterday I posted, I guess it was this morning then, because it's Friday, but we talked about how I had a post that said, celebrate your week. What did you do that was amazing this week? And one cute girl said, I kept my kid alive. And I thought, you know what? That is to celebrate.
Absolutely.
Some days that is the best that we can do. And you know what? You are keeping those kids alive. That's a full-time job, and you're rocking it if you're doing it.
Exactly.
And every mom would agree with you. I know it.
Exactly. Yes. So what steps can we take for some self-love? Kind of, I don't know, loving ourselves. What can we do?
Well, the first thing that I always feel like is number one is gratitude. And it may sound kind of different, but I don't know about you, and I'm sure when we focus on gratitude, it's a lot harder to see the negative. So if you're struggling to love yourself and you're constantly like, oh, my thighs, and oh, I don't like my nose, or I just can't, I never stick to my goals, or you have those negative things. I want you to turn it around and say, maybe take 3 minutes each day, or whatever it is for you, and just write 3 things that you're thankful for about you, about yourself. It can be a physical thing. It can be like, I love, my skin, or something like that.
Right.
It could be something that's, what's the word? Like a personality thing. I'm really kind to people, or I'm I'm a pretty patient mom, and that's a hard thing to do. Or something like saying, I'm grateful that I have these attributes that make me who I am. When we're talking to moms and we're talking about moms, and sometimes the mom body is hard, right?
Right.
I mean, it's just, it is what it is. It was a interesting learning curve for me to learn how my body was changing. And sometimes you can say, like, you can get really down on yourself about that. But then I think, what if I were to sit here and say, I'm so grateful that I was able to carry a baby or deliver it without complications, or even now that I can keep up with a rambunctious toddler, So I think you can choose, like, the first thing is gratitude, and you can choose if you want to make it physical. If you're really struggling to love yourself physically, you can make it like your attributes. So, like we talked about, are you helpful? Are you a good communicator? And you can work down. And I promise that if you sit down and you think about it, you'll really discover more and more things that you're thankful for. And you'll start to, if you notice when you do things that you're thankful for, your vision starts to change.
Right. And you almost become happier.
Yeah. And so that kind of guides me into the next step of, you've got to practice it. Right? So if you're not practicing the gratitude for who you are, then it's just going to fizzle out, and you're going to get right back to that same thing. So practice, 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 and then you've got to start believing it. So that's kind of my biggest thing is, be thankful for who you are, start to notice the positivity, say it over and over and over to yourself, and then you really have to believe it. You have to be like, yeah, this is truly me. Right. And that's what comes with practice is believing in it.
Love that. Definitely. So I guess, my next question was going to be, what are 3 things that busy moms can do to help with their internal dialogue? Because, you start getting down on yourself. So I like the gratitude and the practice. Is there like one other thing that maybe they could do to shift their internal dialogue so they're, I don't know, like less hard on themselves and, celebrating what they have accomplished every day?
Yeah.
Because I think that's what it is. I think people don't realize that they are doing stuff every day, but then they focus on what they haven't done, or, what they didn't accomplish, or I don't know.
It's a curse, kind of, as a mother, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right.
You kind of make these long to-do lists, and then you don't even see the ones that you've checked off. You see the ones that you haven't checked off.
Yeah, it's almost like we're living life as the glass is half empty, or, it's like, I don't know.
Yeah. Or even going back to that responsibility, we're losing, like, being responsible for saying, like, I'm choosing to be responsible for the things that I set out to do. And if I didn't do those, then that's my choice, kind of thing,
Right. Yeah.
But the biggest thing, I don't know, you tell me, but one of the biggest things I think is sometimes we don't recognize that we talk poorly about ourselves. We don't even notice it.
Yeah.
And so probably my biggest recommendation is to stop and listen to your internal dialogue and start to pay attention to how you talk to yourself. And then I think it's kind of within the cognitive behavioral therapy realm where you change your, so you start to notice those negative thinking patterns, and then you stop and you tell yourself, what's true about this, or what's not true. And then you change those thoughts to something positive. So let's give an example. Maybe like you're kind of telling yourself like, oh, I'm just a lazy person, or whatever. And you're constantly thinking that to yourself. But when you stop and think about all the things that you're doing, you go, well, that's kind of irrational. Like I'm maybe being a little lazy in some areas, but I'm not a lazy person. And you reframe that and saying like, you know what, I'm doing a lot of great things for a lot of great people, and maybe I want to try working a little bit harder in this area. And so all of a sudden we've turned from like, I'm lazy, and I don't know, I just kind of felt like I slumped when I said that, to, I'm actually like, I do a lot of things, and there might be some areas I can work on, and I can totally try those. And all of a sudden I just feel so much better.
Yeah.
And it's changing.
Yeah, because it's almost like I notice this a lot is, I mean, I do this myself too, is I will kind of give myself a compliment, but then I'll end it with a but. You know, well, I
Yeah,
got my to-do list done, but I should have done more. Or, you know what I mean?
yeah,
It's so, or I ate really healthy today, but I was craving chocolate all day. You know, so it's like you're celebrating your win by like slapping yourself in the face at the same time. It's like
yeah.
really, really dumb.
I
Just to
know.
put it.
And so if you can, I think that's the thing is like sometimes we don't even notice that we do that. So we just do it automatically. So if you can take a minute to be like, oh, Jen, what did you just say to yourself?
Yeah.
Maybe we can change that. And then the next time you might not say it. Or, like that comes with practice.
Yeah, yeah. So, what can we do as busy moms to change our mindset and allow us to get out of our way of being happier? Because I think that we stand in our way of our happiness. I don't think other people do. I think that we do more. And and busy moms just, you just kind of like, I don't know, keep going with the same, and it's really hard for to kind of change direction or try something new, because it's like you get into a routine of what you're used to, and it's like that's safe, that's normal. So what can we do?
Yeah. I think it kind of goes back to just what we were talking about is first of all, recognizing what's going on. So stopping and being like, okay, where am I struggling to love myself, to appreciate who I am and what I'm doing? And then you need to start doing something to change it. Just like you said, we get in these mental routines too, where we talk about how our mind, just think about how you learn things, how you memorize things. You do them over and over and over again. And so if you have this negative loop going on in your head, then it's going to take some time to change it. It's going to take you're going to need to recognize that it needs to be changed first. And then you're going to have to practice. And so that means that you have to turn those irrational thoughts off and change them into the positive and true statements. So, I think we're going to talk about this a little bit later, but, we talk a little bit about doing affirmations where it's
Right.
telling yourself some positive things. And if you're repeating it over and over and over again, think where you're going to be. For example, I'll give you a little story. I had my best friend and I went our separate ways for college. And there were some hard times. College is hard.
Yeah.
You're new environment, new people. And we had some hard times, but we kind of kept together. And together, actually, we created an affirmation for ourselves, but we did it together. And, it's funny, how many years later? I don't even know, really.
That's okay. It's only been a few, right?
Only a few. We still tell each other that all the time, and it's something that I repeat to myself. And if she's having a hard day, I remind her, or she does the same thing with me. And so it's just kind of become ingrained. And you can use those types of things, those affirmations, and that mental change for anything in your life. You could do it for money, you could do it for relationships, you could do it for success, anything, because just like when you're a little kid and you're starting to learn, line by line of things, it's the same thing with our brains, is that they start making these new connections as we repeat and do things over and over again.
Yeah.
So if you can stop and notice what's happening, and then start to kind of interrupt that little negative habit loop and create it into a positive loop, definitely something you can totally do. And easy. It's not something that requires a lot of time, or it doesn't require any money. It's not something that, anyone else needs to help you with, basically. You can do it yourself, and it's simple, and it doesn't take a lot of time.
I love that. So, okay, yeah, we're talking about affirmations. So how can someone start if they've never done it before? Because I know that affirmations, positive affirmations, are all over the internet, all over, talk shows, and, it's talked about all over. They're in books, Tony Robbins and all of the, the great, like, make you feel good people, So how is it that somebody can start if they've never done it before?
Well, the best thing, that kind of what we talked about, is first recognizing it. So we've already talked extensively about that.
Yes, we have.
So first recognize it, start to change it. And then there's a couple paths you can take to create an affirmation. It's not rocket science. It can be very simple, and it can change and it can mold. And that's what we talked about with perfection, right? We can change things and mold them to how our lives are going at the moment. And so you can either create your own affirmation with powerful words and statements that you want to be a part of your life. Maybe you want more confidence. Maybe you want more money. Maybe you want to feel beautiful. Anything that you want, those powerful words of like strong, confident, anything like that. Mm-hmm. And you can create your own affirmation. Or if you want, you can go on the internet and find, a good phrase that really resonates with you, and you can repeat it daily. So you can go very specific with my own life, my own personal life, mm-hmm. or you can go, like Nike has, just do it. And sometimes that resonates with people. So if you're, should I get out of bed to exercise? Oh, my mantra is just do it. Then I just know, so if that's something that resonates with you, or, I love to create affirmations for different areas in my life sometimes. So that, for business and for personal, and those kind of help me as I go along.
I love that. That's great. Okay. So let's say we set them. So how is it that we can say them to ourselves without sounding like or feeling like a weirdo? Because I know, you have those. I was watching a Tony Robbins video, and he talks about how when he started out, he was 19 years old. He was in his old like Volkswagen car, and he was like screaming at the top of his lungs these positive, well, he calls them incantations, but or affirmations or whatever. So how now we're probably a home alone, but you still are like, I am wonderful. Like you feel like,
yeah.
So how can we do that without feeling or looking or seeming like a weirdo?
Well, I can't say I've ever screamed my affirmation or yelled before. If that's your jam, go for it. But that's the thing. Like, it might seem silly, but honestly, I mean, I don't think there's any reason to feel silly about it, mostly because if you've created it for something that resonates with you, it shouldn't really feel weird, right? It should feel natural and comfortable. Yeah, it might be funny to yell it out loud, and I know sometimes you go to conferences and things like that, and they do those sorts of things, but it really doesn't need to be like that. If you want to, you certainly can. But it really shouldn't empower and inspire and motivate you. And if it doesn't, then you need to try another one, probably. Right. Like find something else. Mm-hmm. So, you can always say your affirmations out loud. That's great if you want to. Sometimes I just have mine written down and I'll read them because I'm a very visual person. And so if I see it, for me to hear things, they just kind of go, I just need to see it. And so for me, I like to have them written down. You can have them written down on your mirror. You can have them. I have one right here in my drawer that I kind of just keep when I start my work for the day. I just read it, and that's super simple, not hard.
Right. Yeah.
Or you can just repeat it over in your head. The first thing that you do when you wake up is just repeat it 3 times and go about your day. And if you need a reminder, you'll notice it'll start popping up throughout the day or throughout the weeks where you struggle and you go, oh, I need to remember that. Right. So I think it's one of those, you shouldn't feel silly doing it, and not everyone has to do it like Tony Robbins. Right. You can.
Yeah.
But it can be really simple, and you can keep it to yourself. My sweet husband, he did one for himself, and I was like, I want you to share it with me. What is it? He's like, but it's for me. I want it personal. And I was like, what?
Right.
But it can be totally personal, or you can share it with people, and that's great.
Yeah. And when you were saying that, and I started thinking, I think it's easy for people to say, oh, out loud, like the negative stuff. But then when they say the positive stuff out loud, they think, oh, maybe people are going to think I'm full of myself or I'm conceited or, so I want these mothers that are watching this to know that your goodness needs to be celebrated, and you need to embrace the amazingness that you're bringing to this world.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. I love that so much because I think there should never be a reason to belittle yourself, and you should always be celebrating. Like, I don't even care who thinks you're conceited. Like,
right.
You should be like, I am the most awesome person ever.
Yeah.
Like, that's one thing I'm like, if somebody is celebrating themselves, that doesn't make me feel worse when I see them do that. Like, I want to join in with them, know?
Yeah, definitely.
So never let that down.
Yeah. So I want you to talk about, you have this amazing thing on your website, and I love it, and I did it. You have your Affirmations Workbook where you walk us through how to create affirmations and how to put them into your daily life. So I would love for you to talk to the viewers about this, and spoiler alert, you can get the affirmation workbook. Elizabeth is so awesome. She's given this away to everybody. So, but yeah, you take it away and tell everybody about it.
Totally. It's something I just kind of came up with it. Like, as I've done all this, I've spent years doing this. And it's something that I thought, if I could get people, and especially women, that's a special spot in my heart for other women and mothers. If I could help them kind of love who they are a little bit more and feel more confident and feel like they can really truly accomplish anything that they want, because there's so much out there that just kind of makes us feel like, oh, I don't think I could do that. I don't think I could do that. Right. And I think, of course you can do it. You can do it in your own way. And so that's why I created this, was that I just wanted, people I wanted women to have something that they can feel like they can go back to. Just like I told you with my friend and I, we have this affirmation that we constantly go back to, and it's like boosted me in so many situations. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I've created it. So I talk a little bit about what is an affirmation and why you need one in this little workbook. And then my first step, I'm going to share my first step, and then I'm going to keep the rest of it secret. But the first step is letting you kind of dream and thinking. We as women don't always spend time dreaming about what we want, because we're kind of in the thick of life sometimes, where my biggest thing or what's the word I'm looking for, is women struggle to put themselves first.
Absolutely.
And I am an advocate for putting yourself first. That doesn't mean like, if your kid's hit his head somewhere, you gotta, but like, right. I know that if I don't wake up early before everyone gets up in my house, I'm just not the best mom. And so I have to make the sacrifice to get up and put myself first in the morning. Right. And then everything else works out. And so that's kind of what the first step is dreaming. And then you go through talking about words and words that are powerful to you, and words that mean something to you that you want to bring into your life, as well as and then you start to put it together into a statement where you tell yourself what you want. And like I said, I talk about in the workbook how you can create it just specifically for one thing. So maybe you have an event coming up. Maybe you're trying to public speak, or you have a big race coming up or something, and you really need something. That's what they do in sports psychology with athletes. Yeah. They envision the scenario over and over and over again. And this is very, very similar, just with a more general life statement, So you can do it specifically, or you can do it with a general life statement to help you kind of stay centered, Yeah. So I was going to I have this cool quote, and I don't have anyone to attribute it to, but it was a cool quote on the workbook, and I want to read it. It talks about the power of affirmations, and it says, when you write it, the magic begins. Mm-hmm. After you write it, you can start reading it. When you start reading it, you'll be able to start saying it. Mm-hmm. When you start saying it, you start hearing it. Mm-hmm. When you start hearing it, you start to believe it. When you believe it, things begin to change. And then when things begin to change, you will understand and believe. And I just loved that. I just thought that was exactly it. I want you to know that it's not going to change overnight. Something's not going to change overnight. And I'm a huge advocate in teaching people about small and simple steps. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what this is, where, start with creating some power words in your life and then build up. And as you start to repeat it over and over again, you'll start to change. And it's happened. And if you read about affirmations, you can see the change that it's brought in people's lives.
I love that. Oh, so much. So I'm going to have the workbook linked below so people can download it and start creating their own powerful affirmations. So they can start, believing and hearing. And I love that quote. So I hope that they find it as valuable as I did, because I would just kind of scour the internet and be like, that sounds good, and so I'd start saying that. But being able to have a step-by-step process of creating affirmations that are like part of my life and really relevant to me, instead of like, I am wonderful. Like I'm still like, one day I'll just start shouting them while I'm in the shower.
That's awesome.
Right. But Elizabeth, I want to thank you so much for joining me and sharing your story and how other moms can start using these things in their life to make their lives so much better.
Well, thank you for having me. And I just want to say, if any of you do download it and you feel like sharing, please share your affirmations with us. I'd love to hear what you come up with. If it's not, personal or whatever, that's something that's exciting for me, is to hear what you've created after following the workbook. So I would love to hear it, or even if you already have some, that's exciting for me. So I'm sure awesome. Jen and I would love to hear them if you do come up with some great ones.
Absolutely, because I might share, or I might shout yours in the shower when I finally get the guts to say them out loud.
Perfect. And they'll just be in the shower, so no one else will know.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody else will hear them. It'll just be, I could do this. So, all right. Well, thank you so much, Elizabeth. And so if you want this workbook, it's going to be available for you to download. You can just click the button below and you will get your affirmation workbook. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks, Jen.